Y'all, come sit with me for a sec. I just need you to help me process and answer the question, what the actual fucking and the highest of fucks did I just watch? I think I need to go back to therapy from all that. Hey, what's up? Welcome, one and all, new and returning. Unless this is your first time on my channel, then you know how much of an advocate I am for reading a book before watching the movie that it's adapted from. But there are some times where I will make exceptions and go against my own moralistic standards of conduct and give myself permission to do whatever the hell I fucking feel like doing. Just like I give myself permission to live by the motto, better out than in. And watching a film that was a book first is no exception around these parts. If there is a movie out that looks appealing to me and is based on a book that also looks equally appealing, I will get into the book first before I even think about touching the movie. But with this book turned movie that today's video is about, The Housemaid, it was one of those situations where it didn't spark my curiosity enough to add the shit to my Amazon cart and pick it up from my stand every single night where Verity by Colleen Hoover is currently sitting, to read a chapter before bed each night. And not that I take to heart what others say about a piece of media, I haven't had a chance to discern for myself. But the book's author, Frida McFadden, gets a lot of criticism for her books as being too easy, for the repetitive inclusion of cliche character tropes, whose behavior and motivations are predictable in nature. She's sort of regarded on Book Talk as the Walmart Colleen Hoover. If you haven't watched my Colleen Hoover video yet, check out that one after this one, if you're interested. If you're just dying to know what I have to say about Colleen Hoover. But any fucking way, personally and unpopularly, I really like a handful of Frida McFadden's books, like The Inmate and Never Lie. But my impression of The Housemaid, like the little plot previews I read online, didn't reel me in enough to want to read it for myself. So I was pretty confident that I'd walk away watching the movie, not feeling sorry for what I just did. And I'm especially not sorry for my stance on Sydney Sweeney, being the worst possible choice to play the role of Millie, the protagonist, the housemaid. Now, I'm not just saying that because she's one of Hollywood's biggest pick-me girls. Her acting is just very lackluster and she shows no versatility in the work that she's done so far. She's very one-dimensional and seems to only know how to play one type of girl. Which is the sex bomb Daisy Dukes, archetypal character with an irritating Valley Girl accent. It's like her playing Millie was an attempt to try to steer her away from that typecast, and it failed, without surprise. I mean, I can't say that I hate Sydney Sweeney as a person because I don't know her. Like, I know of her. I just don't know her. But I do hate that she's a pick-me and possibly MAGA, and that she self-objectifies and caters to the male gaze to keep her pervy, virginal, predominantly male fan base, who knows nothing about women and never will know anything about women, because women don't want them, thirsting and gooning to her. In short, I hate everything she stands for. But if you were to take all that out of the equation, I'd feel the same way about her underwhelming performance, and perceive her portrayal of Millie as a miscast. At least she got to pretend to work a job she'd probably be happy with, right? Remember what she said about that? But I guess stardom was her only way to get in with the ugly millionaires. Homegirl's not expressing her Venus Scorpio in a good way. That probably didn't make a lot of sense to a lot of you watching. But if you want to make sense of it, you can check out my online cosmic store, just Cosmic Witchy Things. Especially if you have a Venus Scorpio, so I can tell you how to not be a Sydney Sweeney, if you let me read your birth chart. Anyway, enough self-promo for one video. I think someone like Florence Pugh would have been a better choice for Millie. Because Millie as a character is not some naive young girl with daddy issues who can't grasp the concept of toxic masculinity. She's smart, but was easily tricked by the mask the husband put up. Throughout this video, I'm gonna be saying the husband. I'm not even gonna bother looking up his real name, since he's the villain. I mean, the girl killed a guy for raping her roommate, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Like, she's a girl's girl. She don't take shit from men and outwardly expresses her feminine rage. And I think Sydney Sweeney, having the public image she does, combined with her inability to play any other character that's not begging for male approval, made her character come out the other way. I mean, I know one could argue the idea of separating the actor from the character, but that shit don't work with an actor like Sydney Sweeney. She just doesn't have the acting chops to be able to do that. At least for me. Her reputation of being desperate for a sugar daddy, dating raggedy old ass looking millionaires twice her age, overshadows any attempts of her playing the character that's not the ditzy blonde bombshell type, produces an underwhelming, forgettable performance. I don't know, who Who do you think would have been a better Millie? We're aligned on that thought. Sydney Sweeney not being a good choice to play Millie. Who do you think would have been a better Millie? I've opened to other suggestions if not Florence Pugh. Hey, but you know what? There may be hope for the future because I think this is a series, not a standalone book. So another movie or a string of movies based on the other installments could be made, so go ahead and recast your dream Millie. It can be whoever you want as long as it's not Sydney Sweeney. As long as it's not Sydney Sweeney, I ain't gonna be mad. Now, of course, Amanda Seyfried, who you can never go wrong with as Nina. I literally thought for the first half of the movie, I was watching Karen Smith 10 plus years later having a break with reality. But until it was revealed, she was orphaned in childhood and a lonely single mother of a baby who got love bombed into an abusive marriage with a rich psychotic con artist. I realized Homegirls got zero in common with Karen. I don't know, it just seems so on brand for Karen Smith to get hitched so quickly, being swept off her feet by a handsome rich white guy, and have herself a merry little villain era, from being the good girl for too long and being walked all over. Karen never was really mean, but rather a follower of an actual mean girl. If anything, her biggest crimes were being so face-palmingly dumb and having an incestual attraction to her cousin that she seemingly kissed at one point. But can I just say that Nina hatching a plan to get herself out by faking psychosis and delusions that put everyone around her not involved in the plan on edge is kind of legendary. It's kind of legendary. Crazy Nina is what people refer to when they say someone was committing to the bit. No, but seriously though, people with actual psychosis from any sort of mental illness is not legendary. And it's wrong to label someone who is actually plagued by breaks with reality, shouldn't be stigmatized with the label crazy. Unless they're actually hurting people and wreaking havoc because of it, then that's a different story. Even though rich, isolated, apparently visibly mentally ill Nina was a terror, she was low-key a vibe. I mean a vibe in the sense of she brings the moment of drama that can easily be made memeable. Like in a Real Housewives kind of way. I've never watched any of the Real Housewives installments, but I've seen out of context clips of the women on the shows acting absolutely fucking ridiculous. And the memes and gifs made from them.
I said what I said. How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion!
They're like packs of yassified baboons with all the screeching they do. And that husband, the poster child for the male loneliness epidemic. It's like, do you really think in your mind that a woman will truly love you and want you around if you torment her and consistently go out of your way to sabotage her life just because she's her own person and you don't always get your way because of it? I mean, yes, I know where he learned it from because of the woman he was raised by, but still, no excuses to be made. I'm even embarrassed to admit that he had me fooled and thinking that he was the good guy up until he asked Millie to go to the concert with him. That's when I was like, okay, he's up to something. I mean, not that he was a potential psychotic maniac, just that he was on the hunt to seduce someone that was not his wife. No one who is aware of professional cross-gendered boundaries would even suggest going to an event with an opposite sex employee as an alternative option for making use of concert tickets that are non-refundable if they didn't have an ulterior motive that involved getting hands in pants. Even though at that point Nina was acting crazy, I did wonder at some point if he had ever done something or didn't do something that sent Nina into such a downward spiral that she had to constantly question her reality. I mean, he did, just not in the way that I initially thought. Of course, no one turns another mentally ill. I just assumed it was one of those things where Nina had this mental illness that gave her lapses in memory or delusions. And if that he was just a shitty husband, he was making it worse. But no. It was the other way around. Nina gave the actual psycho a taste of his own medicine and sent him so far into questioning his life choices. She becomes such a menace that he has no other choice but to kick her out of his life and antagonize the new victim, Millie. I mean, not that Millie or Nina were dumb for missing the signs he was a total psychopath. He was very, very convincing at playing the doting boyfriend role before they were claimed as his. I'm using quotations because no one belongs to anyone. I feel like this film should have been one of those Lifetime originals or straight to streaming films instead of a theatrical release made for the silver screen. It just didn't translate well into a movie that is to be taken seriously. I don't mean not taken seriously in the sense that it should be deemed as a comedy or that the material is lighthearted. I mean, really the only laughable part about this film is Sydney Sweeney's lethargic and minimally emotional performance as Millie. But other than that, there's nothing funny about love bombing, manipulation, or abusive husbands within themselves. What I mean is, it was delivered in a way that didn't translate into a cinematic experience that people would pay $20 to see before it comes out on streaming. But I mean, it did make $399 million at the box office globally. Personally, I think that was just mainly due to Sydney Sweeney's Great Genes controversy, and the inner conspiracy theorist in me, and quite honestly, lives within all of us, is pretty convinced that that particular controversy was tied to the film's promotion. Because the marketing team were probably not convinced that it would do well at the box office. So they needed to start a heated discourse about the film's main star. And of course I can't confirm that's Of course I can't confirm that's true. Camilla, girl, you bet. To die on me? Camilla's my camera's name. Of course I can't confirm that all that is true. It's just my little conspiracy theory. You can either take it or leave it. You know what film the Nina going crazy to escape her terror of a husband storyline reminds me of? Is that old comedy Duplex. A comedy that came out way back when with Ben Stiller and Drew Barrymore, who play a couple that share a duplex with an old lady who lives upstairs. And this old lady does the most weirdest, chaotic things that drive them nuts, like playing television concerts at full volume in the middle of the night while they're trying to sleep, asking them to take time out of their busy days to go run errands with her because she likes the company, but is completely capable of doing herself, and having her church bandmates over at 6 a.m. in the morning at her place to practice. And she drives the couple so crazy with her ridiculous demands and requests for neighborly support that it consumes their lives to the point where the woman, Nancy, gets fired from her job, and Alex, the man, loses out on a book deal and gets dropped by his publisher. And filled with rage and vengeance, they set out on a quest to get their angel-disguised devil of a neighbor murdered through many but failed avenues, from coughing in her food to get her sick with the flu, to creating a leak in her floor so she would step on the wet wood and fall through on impact, to hiring a hitman that came at the recommendation of Alex's fellow author friend. Everybody likes to compare the housemaid to Gone Girl, but in Gone Girl, it was the case where the girl was actually mentally ill and driven to insanity from the constant doubting and questioning of her emotionally disconnected, cheating husband. I can see why people compare it to Gone Girl, but as someone who read the book and saw the movie, they really don't have that much in common at all. They're both just women-centered thrillers with a juicy plot twist. Like, no two thrillers where a woman is the main character are the same. Now, about The Housemaid overall, if it hadn't been for Sydney Sweeney's acting, I would have really enjoyed this film. And really the only thing I got a kick out of was the unexpected twist I didn't see coming about the husband being the crazy one and Nina faking her insanity all along, and getting a former prison inmate who was tough enough to kill as the housemaid turned the new victim of the husband from hell. The way I felt so gaslit was so unmatched. That's what I look for in a good thriller. That is the only time it is okay to gaslight me, and that I open myself up willingly to be gaslit. I mean, it's not surprising that the husband turned out to be a piece of shit, but I was surprised by the fact that Nina is actually a level-headed woman who put on a crazy show to drive her husband to the point of utter disgust for her. And something else that was kind of bugging me as I was watching this film, some things just didn't need to be said to set the tone. Like the hotel room scene where Millie tells the psycho rich guy to take off her dress. Like, honey bunches of oats? He was gonna do that anyway. You may need to tell a man to do a lot of things, but taking off your clothes in a moment of sexually charged passion is not one of them. That's something you don't have to verbally remind him to do. My biggest takeaway from watching The Housemaid was that women have community first and foremost before creating a life with a man. The thing that both Millie and Nina had in common that made them targets of this rich, crazy guy's torture was their lack of a support system that made them vulnerable to getting swept up by a knight in shining armor who promises to take care of them. It's an unfortunate tale I've heard many times, both in fiction and in real life, where a woman in desperate need of lively support with no tribe to help connect her with the assistance she needs or take her under their wing falls into the arms of a well-connected man with status and an abundance of resources that he can love bomb and promise the world with, only for his mask to slip off after the honeymoon phase and exposes a control freak or narcissistic abuser. And if or when they leave or escape, they have nowhere to go and no one to turn to when they're out, which is why we ladies must continue decentering men so that this is not a normal occurrence in society, where women latch on to men in desperation to get out of economic or social despair. And I sure hope you feel that way too, and if you don't, get the fuck up out my grill. We don't play that pick-me shit up in here at Neurospice Mary Lee. We stomp on and spit in the faces of patriarchy, immoral capitalism, and every other system that aims to disempower women and keep them from being their own people and free to be their own agents. But anyway, that's today's movie review turned philosophical debate. Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, then go ahead and show it by giving it a big old thumbs up. And if you loved it, then you should be a part of this online community I'm creating, the Emotional Support Coven. All you have to do is hate everything I do and find the subscribe button and do like this with your finger of choice. I'm gonna use my index finger for this tutorial and click that darned button like this. Ding! And if you want to be a top tier witch and in line to be the next supreme, you gotta turn on all channel notifications so that you have the best chance of getting the first flex when a new video drops every other week. Stay cool, stay fresh, and I'll see you next time.